Baruch haba! Welcome everyone into our beautiful Sukkah. This holiday, as you well know, is called Sukkot, which means booths. It refers to the Jewish festival of giving thanks for the fall harvest. It's a beautiful fall day here. And the holiday has also come to commemorate the 40 years of Jews wandering in the desert. And these tent-like structures represent the huts which the Israelites built during their years of wandering after escaping Egyptian slavery. So the Torah commands us to leave the comfort of our homes and dwell for 7 days in a sukkah. What is a sukkah? Sukkah is a temporary dwelling place. As you can see the roof here, the roof right here, it is an open roof covered with branches, as you can see. And the branches allow the wind or rain to enter. And the symbol of that is that the sukkah is a fragile home. It teaches us about the fragility of life. And certainly this year during the pandemic, that is certainly a concept we can all relate to. But on the positive end, the sukkah is also a shelter. It's a sukkot shalom. It's a tabernacle of peace. And it is something that is designed to shelter us from all of the hardships of life. So just think of this beautiful island now, away from all the difficulties and the hostility and all of the volatile aspects of life. We are now protected beneath this beautiful sukkah. In fact, Sukkot is called Zaman Simchatenu. Simchatenu comes from the word simcha. It is the season of our rejoicing. We need to rejoice and be glad. And by the way, we think of the important holidays today as Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And then after Yom Kippur, we've reached our pinnacle. We say, oh, now there's another holiday. But this holiday, historically, it's referred to as Hechag, the festival. Why is that? During the times of the temple in Jerusalem, there was a celebration of water drawing. It was called the Simchat Beit HaShoeva. It was held each night, and the great sages would perform juggling acts. Yes, indeed, I'm not kidding. In fact, the greatest rabbi of that time, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, he was the head of the high court, and he would kindle 8 portable bonfires and juggled them without dropping even one and without them even touching each other. It was just amazing what they can do. It was real entertainment over there in the Holy Temple. So it instructs us in the Torah, in the book of Leviticus, that you are to take these things, well, specifically the etrog, but everything else is intertwined with the etrog, and you are to take them on the festival, and this is a tremendous mitzvah. We're going to do that together with the blessing, and we are going to wave these. We are going to wave these. So this is how we do it. If you don't have one of these, you can participate together with me. Okay, we're going to recite the blessing, and we always face east to unite ourselves with our brethren in the state of Israel. So, together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat lulav. Praised are you, O God, ruler of the universe, who has sanctified us with commandments and has commanded us concerning the waving of the lulav. So now, we do it in 6 directions. First, front. Okay. Right. Back. Left. Up. And down. And that is the way we praise God with all our being, and we're going to do that. There is a cup there. We also hold the lulav and etrog for Hallel as well when we sing praises to God, and we're going to sing the most famous parts of the most famous psalm in which we sing praises to God, called Hodul Adonai Ki Tov, Ki Li'olam Chasto. Give thanks to God, for God is good, for God's loving kindness endures forever. And we are going to wave the lulav as we do that. And there's a special tune for this that you may not be familiar with, but it's a special nusach liturgy for Sukkot itself. Each holiday has its own tunes for liturgy. So it goes like this. Hodu Ladonai Ki Tov Ki Li'olam Chasto. You're trying it at home? You can do that one more time. Hodu Ladonai Ki Tov Ki Li'olam Chasto. Very good. So that is the beautiful lulav and etrog. They can either be yellow or green. Mine is green. Those are the two most common colors for this season of harvest. Yellow, green, brownish for some things, such as our schach, our bamboo on top of the sukkah, etc. So this is a very, very important flow of various different holidays during this season, because following Sukkot, people don't realize that the 8th day, and there's even a 9th day if you're in the diaspora, which we are, so the last 2 days of the festival are actually not Sukkot. Sukkot only lasts for 7 days. So after those 7 days, the last 2 days, we actually do not eat in the Sukkah. In fact, the Rambam, Maimonides, tells us that after Sukkot, once you reach Shmini Atzeret, you take everything out of the Sukkah and you bring all those things into your home, and you are to eat in your home, and you do not shake lulav and etrog on the those last 2 days. So what are those last 2 days called? They're actually called Shmini Atzeret, which means the 8th day to tarry. So the Torah doesn't exactly tell us what exactly is to be done, but it tells us you should tarry and you should treat it like a sacred festival. So it used to be that this holiday was, nishtahim, nishtaher. We just knew it was a holiday and that's it. But later on in the Kabbalistic era, the Zohar introduced to us what's called Simchat Torah and added a new dimension to this holiday. Now, what was this all about? It was a holiday that was called, and I'm going to say it in Hebrew, Siyum HaChag and Siyum HaTorah. Siyum HaChag, in other words, the end, the completion of all of the series of festivals, number one. And Siyum HaTorah, it is that we are completing the cycle of Torah portions, the cycle of all 54 Torah portions, and we are concluding with the book of Deuteronomy, the last book, and once we conclude, we begin immediately again with the book of Bereshit, the book of Genesis. And when we do that, whenever we celebrate, whenever there's cause for celebration, or when we're completing something significant, we sing and we dance, and it's a wonderful thing. And that's what we do actually in shul each year. We rejoice with the Torah and sing a few songs, and then we complete the Torah itself. And that's exactly what we are going to be doing right now. We're going to sing a few songs to rejoice, and then we are going to be reading Torah. So the first song we are going to sing, which is a very popular song in our congregation, is called Hevinu Shalom Aleichem. We come to greet you in peace. It is a tremendous mitzvah to greet someone else in peace. Unfortunately, now during the pandemic, we have to greet each other from afar, but nevertheless, it is a wonderful mitzvah to do that. So together, let's sing the song of Hevinu Shalom Aleichem. Hevinu Shalom Aleichem. Hevinu Shalom Aleichem. Hevinu Shalom Aleichem. Hevinu Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Aleichem. Hevinu Shalom Aleichem. Hevinu Shalom Aleichem. Hevinu Shalom Aleichem. We now come to the next song, which is in keeping with the theme of this festival, Zman Simchatenu, the time of our rejoicing, and it's called Hava Nagila, a famous Jewish folk song, and which means, let us rejoice. Now, there's another song that is actually sung by the children in our Hebrew school. I taught it to them as they came and rejoiced in our Sukkah. And it's actually very pertinent to today, because today many things, many of our meetings and many get-togethers and many gatherings are being held over the mechanism of Zoom. So this song actually is called Zoom Gali Gali Gali, Zoom Gali Gali. And actually, historically, this song meant something entirely different. When the first pioneers came to Israel, they actually spoke Yiddish, and they settled in the Galilee. So what they actually said is Zoom Dem Galilee. That, in other words, that we are going to the Galilee, come to settle in the Galilee. And that's actually what it meant historically, but it's become a very popular Jewish folk song.
Zoom gali gali gali, zoom gali gali, zoom gali gali gali, zoom gali gali, zoom gali gali gali, zoom gali gali, zoom gali gali gali, zoom gali gali.
Finally, for our songs this evening, we end with a prayer for peace. Words of Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, Amen. Yahaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, Yahaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, Amen. In just a moment, we're going to take out our Sifrei Torah. Going to show that to you in just a moment, but I just want to say a few words about the Torah portion that we're going to read. The last, very last Torah portion is called V'zot HaBracha, and its themes often get lost in the shuffle because it's always read on Simchat Torah when we're busy dancing and rejoicing and we don't have the time to actually sit down and learn and digest some of the words that we are going to be reading. So I want to tell you about some of this Torah portion, which is very fascinating. It is the account of Moses' death. And essentially, the Torah gives us a beautiful eulogy about Moses. He's described as Israel's greatest leader, and he enjoyed an intimate relationship with God. And then we are told that there will never be another prophet like Moses in the future. I'm going to read this from the Torah. It's at the very end of the Torah. And there are a couple of reasons for that. Moses was the only human being ever to actually see God physically, panim el panim, face to face, although what Moses did see was God's back. Never saw God's face, but God's back. But he was the only person also who was buried by God himself. God took it upon himself to bury Moses. Now, we don't actually know where Moses is buried. That's between God and Moses. That was their secret, and there are a number of reasons for it. The main reason being that Moses was a human being, and he was never to be worshipped. He was to be respected and revered, but never to be worshipped. We don't worship human beings. But reading this account, there is a simple question which any student of the Bible would be prompted to ask here. How can Moses be spoken of in such glowing terms if he made some serious errors in life and within the course of his leadership? Remember, in the book of Numbers, it describes a very famous incident where Moses was determined to get water, and instead of following God's instructions to speak to the rock, he actually decided to hit the rock, and he hit it twice with his rod. The water came gushing out, and the Torah goes on to say that Moses did not trust in God, and therefore he would be denied the privilege of entering the promised land. And in fact, as you see at the end of the Torah, he actually was not able to fulfill that dream. So the question is, so why is Moses spoken about with such great honor? Why is that? Why are we giving honor to him if he made some serious mistakes? The answer actually is found in Pirkei Avot, in Ethics of Our Fathers, and this is the answer that I would like to suggest. It says, Dan et kol ha'adam lekaf zechut. Literally, judge the entire person. Don't just judge by a couple of incidents here and there, but judge the entire person. And that's exactly what happened. God ultimately judged Moses based on his entire record. And there's a very significant lesson intended here. We need to judge others the way we personally would want to be judged. We wouldn't want to be evaluated based on a couple of mistakes we made, or on that time we lost our temper, or perhaps said or did something we now regret. How would we like if someone would judge us by that one time, that one slip up? We wouldn't want that. If someone is genuinely a good and decent person, we need to evaluate that person based on his or her entire record. And we should not allow a legacy to be diminished based upon a slip up here and there, because ultimately no human being is perfect. So if God was able to judge Moses in this way, then we amateurs should certainly judge others favorably as well. So let this be a lesson for Yom Tov. Try to give people who are genuinely decent people, if they've made a mistake or anything of that nature, let's try to judge them favorably. And now it's time to take out the Torah. We're going to sing the words, Ki mitzion teitzei Torah devar Adonai miYerushalayim. From Zion shall go forth the Torah and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah udvar Adonai miYerushalayim. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah udvar Adonai miYerushalayim. Baruch Shenatan Torah li'amo Yisrael b'kiddushato. Praise be God, who in divine holiness gave the Torah to the people Israel. So, I want to make sure I'm taking out the right Torah here. This is actually not our real Sifrei Torah, since this is, we're doing this from the Sukkah now. Generally, what we do each year, it's a beautiful thing when we meet in person, which unfortunately we're not doing this year. We roll out the entire Torah. We go through the entire Torah. We roll it out. Everybody takes a piece of the Torah and they hold it like this. And it's a wonderful thing. Everybody in the congregation, we go through it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience. But unfortunately, this year we're not doing that. So we have here two Sifrei Torahs that are not real. This is not parchment. This is actually paper that we're using for this broadcast specifically. So I'm going to read from the end of Zot HaBracha, the verse that I just told you about how there was nobody who came up to Moses' toenails, no great prophet who ever saw God face to face or communicated with God face to face. Okay, so let's read this. I have it over here. V'lo kom novi od b'Yisrael ki Moshe asher yida'o Adonai panim el panim l'chol ha'otot v'hamofsim asher shilechav Adonai la'asot be'eretz Mitzrayim l'faro u'l'chol avadav u'l'chol aretzo u'l'chol hayad ha'chazaka U'lechol hamorah hagadol asher asa Moshe li'enei kol Yisrael. And now we say the words whenever we finish a book of the Torah. Now we're finishing the entire Torah. We've completed the entire cycle of Torah portions. We say these words: Chazak, chazak, v'nihit chazek. Be strong, and let us be strengthened, and may we have the opportunity to strengthen others as well. Now, we are going to go to our next Torah, and as I mentioned before, whenever finishing is not the key dynamic in Jewish tradition. It's always beginning again, going from one thing to the next and the next and the next. As Albert Einstein once said, life is like riding a bicycle. You keep going, you keep turning the wheel. So now we're going to begin right away from the book of Genesis, the book of creation, and we're going to do a few of the first verses. As you could see here, Bereshit starts that big bet over there, the Hebrew letter of the alphabet. We're going to read that. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'et haaretz v'haaretz hayata tohu vavohu choshech al pnei tehom v'ruach Elohim merachebet al pnei hamayim vayomer Elohim yihi or vayihi or vayar Elohim et haor ki tov vayavdil Elohim bein haor uvein hachoshech vayikra Elohim la'or yom V'lachoshech kara layla vayihi erev vayivoker yom echad. So that spoke about the creation. And by the way, see these words I just read, vayihi erev vayihi voker yom echad. That's why we always begin our festivals and all our important days, Shabbat, we begin from the evening because Vayihi Erev Vayivoker, God created evening and then morning. So you may wonder why we do everything backwards. In Jewish tradition, by Jews, we do everything backwards. We write backwards, our days start backwards, and we even think backwards. It's just what it is. So that's something which, if you didn't know, now you know it. So we're putting away our Torah now, and we are going to say the words that we say whenever we put back our Torah, and that is Eitz Chaim hi lamachazikim ba v'tomecheo mi'ushar. The Torah is a tree of life to those who cling to it. Blessed are they who uphold it. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Turn us to you, O Lord, and we shall return. Renew us as in days of old. Eitz Chaim hi lamachazikim ba v'tomecheo mi'ushar. Deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva chadesh chadesh yameinu ki kedem. Our thoughts now turn to our beloved dead. We are going to recite Yizkor as we do at the end of the festival, as is our tradition. Before we do that, I just want to mention that today, Shmini Atzeret, is the yahrzeit of one very, very great rabbi. And actually, we have some pictures of rabbis here on our wall. It's customary to do that. And this one right here, if everybody could see this right over here, hope you can see that. That's Rabbi Marcus Jastrow. Rabbi Marcus Jastrow was one of the most important rabbis who came to America in the 1800s, and he wrote the dictionary to translate the Talmud and therefore make the Talmud accessible to the average person. And it was a wonderful, wonderful thing that he did. And he was a very accomplished man who served as rabbi in Philadelphia for many years, and was a great, remarkable leader up until his death in 1903, which took place on Shmini Atzeret. I also want to mention another yahrzeit, Shlomo Chaim ben Yeshaya. May his memory be a blessing. At this time, we're going to turn our attention to our Yizkor prayers. Going to give you a few moments to pray silently, perhaps from that paper that was given out by email, or if not, perhaps you have another book, or you'll say the words of your own heart. But let's take a few moments to pray our Yizkor memorial prayers silently. Eila malei rachamim, shochen bamramim, amtsei menucha nichona, tachat kanefe hashechina, b'ma'alot kidoshim u'tohorim, ki zohar harakia, mazirim et yishemot kol eile, shehizkarenu hayom livracha, onabal harachamim hasdireim b'seiter kinafecha li'olamim, Utzror bitzror hachaim et nishmoteihem v'yanuchu al mishkivotam b'shalom v'nomar amen. O God, grant perfect rest to all our beloved who we are saying Yizkor for today. May all of their memories be for a blessing. We say Zichronam Livracha. And in keeping with the theme we spoke about before, about Moses' eulogy, may we all merit to judge everyone, all our departed loved ones, based on their entire record, based on the entire life that they led. And may we have fond and positive memories of them, and may they inspire us to be better Jews and better human beings. I want to thank you all for tuning in. This is a wonderful Sukkot and Simchat Torah. Despite all of the challenges and obstacles, glad we were able to do it, at least in this way. And I want to say to you, Moadim l'simcha, chagim uzmanim l'sason. May all your seasons, may all your festivals be filled with joy, gladness, and fulfillment, and look forward to greeting each other very, very soon in peace. Amen. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.